here. So let's go to our first game that we're previewing in Week 7. That is number 16 Utah at Arizona State. It's a Friday night game at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The storyline for this game is the storyline that's been for the last few Utah games, and honestly, the storyline for every Utah game last season as well. It's the health of Cameron Rising right now, because last year the sixth-year senior was 50-50, quote, 50-50 to play Week 1, according to Kyle Whittingham in our interview with him, due to a torn ACL, MCL, meniscus, PFF. He tore his entire knee up in that Rose Bowl against Penn State. He ended up sitting out the entire season. This year, he has a dislocated finger on his throwing hand. I believe it's his ring finger. That's kept him out of the last 3 games. But every game he's gone into it with a questionable designation. He's warmed up pregame. We see, he might actually be playing today. And then Isaac Wilson starts as well. So it's really been Utah and Kyle Whittingham being so tight-lipped about his status. And with Utah coming off a bye week, there's optimism that he might play this week. But it's hard to believe anything at this point when they talk about Cam Rising's health, because they've said, he could be good to go this week, and he doesn't play all year. I don't know when he's going to come back, but he could come back for this game.
Well, it feels like we fall for the trick every week, don't we?
Yeah.
And Utah right now, I think, between their style of play, and they're the team that more than anyone kind of breaks the analytics and the way they play and the culture and how they keep things so close to the vest. They're hard to predict anyway, because they just defy the numbers and they defy the metrics, and they just go out there and do just enough to win football games. But any team, even them, and they proved it to us last year. Look, they won, 8 games last year despite not having Rising at all. They can win football games, but it gets harder and harder to believe, even in a 12-team playoff, that they could make it without Rising playing at all.
Absolutely. So, Dawn, say if Rising's out again, there's probably one thing that Utah really needs to do to win this game. And so what is the matchup to watch when the Utes have the ball?
I think no question they have to run the ball, right? And Mekhi Bernard has to have a big game. Their last game against Arizona, he really didn't have a big game. He was held under 100 yards for the first time since Week 1, down on yards after contact, only forced 5 missed tackles. He had more in the 3 games before that. So you're talking about an Arizona State run defense that needs to step up, especially and stop him. And I'll tell you what, they have been stepping up this year. I'm going to tell you something, Max. This is a defense. They don't do anything fancy scheme-wise. They don't do anything complicated. They line up, and I mean, to put it lightly, they whoop your ass. They just want to play as physical as humanly possible. And even if you make a play offensively, they're coming to hit you. And they've been outstanding this year in run defense, a huge improvement from last year. 84.8 run defense grade is just outside the top 30. Last year, 68.4. EPA per rush allowed, a lot better. Last year, they were allowing 5.1 yards per carry. This year, it's down to 3.8. Before contact, after contact, they are just more fundamentally sound on defense. They played extremely hard in several games last year. We saw it especially in the Washington game that they almost beat them. That was a 15-7 game. This team plays so hard, and I think they play as hard as any team, especially on defense, as I've watched on tape this year. The effort level is off the charts. And again, all they do is line up, single high, 8 in the box, kind of oscillated a bit. It's not a complicated defense. Here and there, they throw a fun third down blitz look at you, but this is a team that wants to line up, hit people, and stop the run. They got some fun players up front. They got CJ Fight up front at defensive tackle. Keyshawn Elliott, number 44 at linebacker. That's a fun player to watch. I'm going to tell you right now, he might not be the best linebacker in the country, but he's one of the most fun ones to watch. He just flies to the football. He sheds blocks, and between the tackles, he is hitting people. It's just an entire team effort, and that's what it takes to tackle a guy like Mekhi Bernard, he's so big, and he works so well after contact, and he breaks tackles, right? And he adds this attitude to Utah's offense. And Utah's been run blocking really well this year as well, a lot better than last year, I think. So you've got this element. I think on both sides of the ball, this is the case, but Arizona State wants to run on offense, which you're going to get into, and they want to stop the run. And their run defense, again, it's been borderline top 30 this year. It's been really good. They're really physical. And what stands out more than anything, and I can't necessarily say that we have, in the thousands of metrics that we have, I can't really quantify effort level. And I could just tell you watch this team, and they go 110% every play, and they hit so hard. Even if Bernard has an 8 to 10 yard carry, he's going to take a big hit. They're going to make him pay for it, and that physical attitude is what's going to keep Arizona State in this game.
Absolutely. And the other side of the ball is the same thing. Can Cameron Scatabo carry the Sun Devils to victory? Scatabo is the engine of Arizona State's offense. He has 616 rushing yards this year. That's the 6th most in the country. 43 rushing first downs or touchdowns. That leads all players in the nation. We're talking about Ashton, even more than Ashton Ginty, even more more than Caleb Johnson, even more than anyone. Cam Scatterbo has the most rushing first downs or touchdowns this year. Also, really a dangerous threat in the passing game as well. Right now this year, he has 209 receiving yards. That's the third most among any running back in the country as well. So you're talking about a top 10 rusher in the nation, a top 3 pass catcher in the nation at running back as well. He's doing it all for this Arizona State offense that right now, outside of him, struggles a little bit, right? They're 81st in run blocking grade, so it's not like he has a great offensive line blocking for him either. They have the worst receiving grade in the Power 4 as well. So they need Cam Scatterbo to be the star for them to win these games, and he has been, which is why Arizona State, and why we're previewing this game, Arizona State's 4-1 right now. We did not expect that for the Sun Devils going into the year, but Cam Scatterbo and that defense is a big reason why. And I will say for Utah's run D, they've been pretty average this year, right? They're 60th in yards per attempt allowed at 4.6. They're 102nd in the country in terms of explosive run rate allowed. Explosive runs are 10-plus yard runs. They've allowed a 10-plus yard run on 17.5% of opposing carries this year. That's 102nd in the country. So when you look at it and you dive even further into the numbers for Utah, so far this year, Utah's actually really good at defending zone runs. They're right now top 25 in run D grade against zone runs, but they're 107th against the gap scheme. And Cam Scatterbo leads the Power 4 with an 87.6 rushing grade on gap runs. So that could be a massive issue for Utah in this game. So really, if Arizona State is going to pull off the home upset, it's going to be off the back of Cam Scatterbo.
Absolutely. Both teams want to run and stop the run in this game. You got 2 great backs. And don't forget, you mentioned Scatterbo running and catching the ball. Don't be shocked. He can throw it a little bit, too. We saw him throw it some last year. That might be a wrinkle thrown in. Look, I think this is going to be a really physical football game. And you've got 2 really fun coaches, right? You've got Kyle Whittingham, you've got Kenny Dillingham, which it's a weird name coaching matchup, too. But, I mean, I think you've got teams that they could get in the Wildcat, run some trick plays. I think this is going to be a fun physical game, but you're going to see some fun stuff, I think, schematically on offense as these 2 teams, especially if Isaac Wilson is playing, they got to create explosives through the air somehow, right? And I do think you have a scenario with Utah where they have an advantage with their secondary, I think, against these Arizona State receivers. I think even more so for Arizona State, it's going to be at a premium to put themselves in really good down and distance situations. They're the team, I think, that has less faith, at least to me. I would think that in 3rd and 10, it's not Sam Levitt. I think Sam Levitt's having a pretty good year, and he's a part of that run game too, right? He's a tough runner himself. But I think there's an advantage for these Utah corners over these receivers. So if Scatterbo does get going and they put themselves in good early down situations, maybe get you in a 3rd and 2 instead of 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, then Arizona State can really get rolling. And I'm telling you right now, I'm so curious to see what both of these teams bring as far as trick plays and gadgets and stuff. I think something's coming in this game.
I can't wait. So, Dawn, who ends up winning this Friday late night game between Utah and Arizona State? Does Utah bounce back after a loss to Arizona a couple weeks ago? Or does Arizona State continue their hot streak right now?
I think regardless of who's playing quarterback for Utah, this is going to be a fist fight. This is going to be a really physical game. I know Utah beat Arizona State, 55-3, I believe it was, last year. I ain't getting that again. It's not going to be 55-3 again. This is a better Arizona State team. They're really, really physical. I think that home crowd's going to be charged up. I'm going to make the assumption that Isaac Wilson is playing because I do think that's the difference in this game. I'm actually going to take Arizona State in the upset.
Wow.
I think the aggressiveness on defense and the way Arizona State does want to slow games down and run and stop the run and get in these fistfights like this, right? Utah also just kind of naturally plays like that. I think this game is at the Sun Devils' speed. I think the difference is if Cam Rising plays, I think we do have a different script because I do think if you want to beat Arizona State, you beat them through the air and you throw balls into their zone coverage in behind their linebackers. But I'm not exactly sure that Isaac Wilson's going to be able to do that on a consistent basis. The ball security is a problem. 7 turnover-worthy plays in 3 games. Yeah. So it's a ball security thing, and this Arizona State team is really aggressive. And if Utah gets in 3rd and longs, the one thing Arizona State has that they do a little different, they have some fun blitz packages on 3rd down. So whichever team has success on early downs, runs, and stop the run is going to win this game. I'm going to assume Wilson's playing Sun Devils 20-17.
So you have Utah losing to Arizona schools in back-to-back games for them.
So be it. And
Okay.
they didn't stop the run all that well against Arizona last week either.
I got to warn you, based off the comment section from our video 2 weeks ago, they're going to come after you. The Utah fans are going to come after you. They came after me hard when I picked Arizona to win that game. I ended up being right, but they did hurt my feelings a little bit in those comments. But I'm actually going to try to get back on their side here. I'm going to pick Utah in this one. I think Utah's going to win this game 24-21. I'm with you. If Isaac Wilson's a starting quarterback, I'm picking Arizona State. I think Arizona State will win this game if Isaac Wilson is starting. But since Cam Rising's status is still up in the air, and since he got hurt in week 2, which was now 5 weeks ago, I've dislocated my finger before too. It took me like a month to get back from that, right? So maybe Rising's a lot worse. It probably
Wasn't there some sort of laceration, like he needed stitches also?
Stitches. He got hit out of bounds in the Baylor game,
Like a bench or something.
into a bench, like the Gatorade cooler,
Yeah.
and he just crashed into it, and his finger got all messed up, obviously. But 5 weeks ago, I think he should be coming after a bye week too. I think he was very close to playing 2 weeks ago, and he didn't end up playing. Then now he had a bye week. Now he has another game now. Again, this is famous last words. I think Cam Rising's going to play this week, but I think there's a chance he will play. And if he does play, I do think Utah will win this game. But if not, if it is Isaac Wilson, then I would side with the Sun Devils as well. But I'm going to ride with Utah on this one, 24-21 in a close one. I'm with you. It's going to be a fist fight, and I cannot wait for that late night game on Friday. Let's